We
I
are...
didn't tweet this. Give me a second. Hold on, I forgot about that.
We are now.
Okay. Cool.
We're very audible, though. So, hi, everyone.
Hi. Hi. Hold on, let me tweet.
No problem. I also need to do the same. We're tweeting now. This is the best part of the stream.
Oh, Jesus. Don't start doing this.
You love... This is your favorite thing.
This is my least favorite thing. Oh, God. It throws me. The weird voice you get.
Do you know...
I'm entertaining now, Chris. Also, I'm saying everything I'm doing. I know it's because I know you're supposed to. I know. I get it.
I don't even know I'm doing it anymore, Gwen. I've entered, like...
You just lived alone long enough that you just instinctively talk to yourself? Is this the deal?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Yeah, okay, I get it, actually.
Dialogue box.
Yeah, did we tweet it out? Okay. Yeah, I forgot to do that.
You are at DialogBoxLive.
That is my Twitter handle, yes. Okay, well, they can't see us.
No.
And we can't see each other, so this is especially not... That's fine, I guess. Should we be quiet and pretend that we can't hear each other?
I can just turn you down and then we can't hear each other.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Okay. I was gonna say, I got a soundboard here, Gwen. I can...
Yeah, but, like, the weird thing is, if they can't hear... Like, we can't talk either. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I know you don't like that bit, that we have to sit in
No,
silence and wait.
Yeah, that's weird.
Is anyone even here? Hello?
No, nobody's here. That's fine.
Alright, should we just start?
So we'll just talk then. Yeah.
Because this is... I'm putting it to the main screen. This is... that was weirder. Oh god, I forgot I had the fancy, like, doo-doo, like the scene transition is like a little, like, woohoo!
Oh, you're putting us live? Okay, cool. Sweet.
We're live. There we are.
Hi everybody. It goes good.
Yeah, it goes alright. How's it going? I'm gonna start recording now. Just so I've got it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so... we're here. I'm Chris. She's Gwen. She's Gwen. I pointed the wrong way. How's everyone doing? Other way. I'm the other way. There I am.
Weird.
And if I do that...
Oh, that's weird.
We meet in the middle. Like that. It's amazing. Anyway.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. How you doing? Welcome to the most prepared podcast ever.
So, here's what's going to happen today. We're going to do it like we used to do back in the day. And what this is we're just going to start talking because I have no plan. And if it sucks, we just won't make it a podcast. We just won't do this week.
Yeah.
Because I have no plan. And, yeah. Hey, I know everybody in the chat. This is cool. Okay, but we have to ignore the chat. Otherwise, it's not a podcast.
True.
All right, so we're going to start. What funny way do we want to start this one?
I've already got a good minute of audio, Gwen. So, I mean, even this is fine.
Do you want to start with the... No, this isn't fine. We need to start big. This is the most important thing. Your beginning and your ending, Chris Slate. You need to hook people, and then you need to finish strong so they remember you and come back next week.
Okay, Gwen, what you got? Bring the thunder.
Fuck, I got nothing, man.
Where's the problem, right? There's the falling, the stumbling at the first block.
I saw this in a TED Talk.
Okay,
you just the countdown and then you just go.
All right.
Okay. All right.
She's having a drink. The word user settings has appeared under her name. That's weird. I'm gonna go away. All right, that's not going away. All right.
What are you talking about?
Don't worry. Carry on.
Okay. All right. 3, 2. Chris.
Jesus. Gwen, hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you? Things are all right.
That's good.
Go ahead. You've got more to say than me. Honestly, I have spent an entire, almost a month playing World of Warcraft now. So that's where I am. How about you?
Just deep into World of Warcraft. Just way into it.
Yeah, level 66 in a month. I've been playing it pretty consistently.
I no longer know the metrics. They made the game way easier as time went on. So like now getting to level 60, before that was like I don't know how much of a challenge that is. I don't know what that means for hours.
I think it said I've been playing for like 4 days solid. seemingly, over the last
Okay.
month, which feels like a lot, but, you know,
Yeah.
who knows?
And you've been streaming it a lot. You've been streaming a ton.
Yes, I have. I've had a lot to do, Gwen, as all of that indicates, but you might have had a lot more to do. I know I'm hitting many pet peeves. I'm talking to myself. I'm making it seem like this has a plan. I'm nailing it. Gwen, please tell me what you was going to say.
No, in general, like, I think, yeah, I have a lot going on. Just in general. There's just so much stuff going on. And I don't know what to talk about for the podcast today because, like, so we're hiring at work. That's a big thing, right? Like, this means we had to do things like put together an employee work or like a book of, like, what is it, like an employee handbook, and figure out a lot of this stuff and go get, like, get our lawyer to approve the employee handbook and put up a jobs page. And we honestly believed that there wouldn't be that many people that would apply because we're a small indie studio.
Yeah.
But instead I was wrong. I think we were very wrong. There was actually like we each have 100 applicants to go through right now at work.
Jesus.
For these, there's only 4 of us, and we had over 400 applications already.
Good Lord.
It hasn't been a week. It's been insane. So there's been and this is good. This is an amazing thing. This is every day I wake up and I look through these amazing art portfolios and things. It's been great. I love it. So that's been happening, and that's busy, and that's cool. And then, like, there's just life stuff. Like, I have something going on every weekend this month. Like, I've got, like, heavy things going on every weekend. I'm moving this weekend, which is non-trivial and takes
Jesus,
a long
you're moving?
time. Yeah, we're moving apartments, and like I've 2 weddings out of state. I'm going to EGX. It turns out I'm going to that at the last minute.
Oh, so you announcing that now?
That I'm going to EGX.
Yes.
That's what I'm announcing. Yeah. But
she's going. Where's in England? That's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a flight. Like, you're not just going to a thing for, like, on a whim. That's, you know.
No.
That's like 12 hours on a plane.
That is it 12 hours?
No,
Shit.
it's like 9 probably, but still a while though, Gwen.
I'm just stressed out, man. I've taken on way too much, like, between all this stuff, and I'm like, God, there's just so much to do.
Yeah.
Between the game at work, the game I'm trying to make at home, getting everything ready for EGX, moving, locations. I have difficulty, honestly, fitting my life, like, things that aren't specifically work. I've never been really good at, like, keeping that up.
Yeah, the work-life balance is much more in balance of the work.
Would be, yeah, the theme of, like, how I mostly live, usually. But there's times when that's just not an option. Like, for instance, when you have, you know, like, when you're, you know, moving. Like, well, you don't get to choose not to focus on that. That's like a thing where you put all of your life in boxes and you move. So you gotta find a way to make your work-life balance pan out, right?
Well, ideally, all we ever talk about is related to work. So I would imagine that the balance for you is weighted more in favor of the work than potentially the other side of it. Which sounds like it's, I don't know, like, catching up to you? What with all the actual life shit, like weddings and moving and...
Yeah, I just gotta... I don't know, man. I'm just buried. I have no solutions. I have only problems.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have, you know, like, people give talks about, you'll go and you'll read advice on what you're supposed to do when you're indie. From, like, my peers in the industry will put out these articles, and they'll talk about how important it is to always maintain relationships outside of work, and how important work-life balance is, and a lot of these things. And they never get into, like, the how. I mean, sometimes they do. I guess that's true. I'm full of shit. Like, sometimes they'll say always work a set number of hours or things like that. But that's never really necessarily worked for me.
Yeah.
Especially. I don't know. I don't have any thoughts on this. Like, I don't have this part of how to be an indie dev figured out in any way, right?
No.
I feel like a lot of people are better at it.
What are the key problems for you then? What is it you're lacking?
given the okay, so
Not necessarily what is the work thing that's the problem, more what you obviously feel you're lacking in some area. Or you don't have solutions, but you have problems. What are the specific problems?
I just have too much to do.
Yeah.
I'm not good at knowing what to offload or when.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like we've talked before in the podcast about, like I have a pool of money for contracting at work, and I can take individual tasks and I can hand them off to other people. But the act of doing that, especially for the first, like spinning somebody up on a project and getting them used to doing things that is your role, takes longer. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like the onboarding takes time. And so it's really tempting to just be like, you know what, this time I'll just do the rig and you just do the animation. And this time, you know what, and end up never training anybody and never doing the onboarding or doing a shit job at the onboarding. It's and then you have the difficulty of like, if you hire somebody full time, you onboard them, you hand off your tasks to them, and then you're done. Whereas when you work with a contractor, maybe you get that contractor for a while, maybe they suddenly can't. Like the whole point of having a contractor is either of you can end it at any time.
Yeah.
And so you hand off work, and you're kind of training up somebody to do a very specific niche task that may not, you may not just get to keep them, and then you end up having to train up somebody else to do it. You know what I mean? And so like, this is part of life too, in a way. Yeah.
It's all part of your time. You're basically taking on work that rationally you shouldn't be, but in terms of ease, it sounds like you are. Like, rationally, because if you're taking on a contractor and you're just going, well, I'll just do it, this bit's going to be easier, it's like no point to the contractor at this stage. Like, you've just done that bit yourself. Whereas you should offload that shit, right?
Yeah.
If I'm hearing you right.
Yeah, you just never know quite when to cross that line, right? I guess would be the way to say it. Like, you never know when it's the which tasks are the ones that you should offload and which ones are the ones you shouldn't, and which contractors to hire, and figuring out which contractors to hire.
Yeah.
And like I said, right now we're hiring a bunch of full-time staff at work, and we're talking about being a multi-project studio, and we're thinking about the ramifications of that and how to spin up. I can't really talk too much about that. There's just a lot of exciting things going on at the Molasses Flood, and I'm not complaining. That's just, you know, like, and I love being busy, so this is all good. But yeah, oh my God, Chris, it's busy.
Yeah, I mean, 400 applications is quite a few applications to go through in and of itself, but it is interesting that you say, like, that maybe it hasn't been as addressed by even maybe just you, but by the people that are discussing the work-life balance in terms of being an indie developer and stuff. The nuts and bolts of, well, do this. Like, if you're having a problem, you feel you're not balancing this shit, or you feel you're working too much, do X, Y, or Z. Like, like, I don't know if there's a thing to that. Like, what could be practical solutions for you? Like, because workload, as we discussed with this guy playing a lot of Warcraft, is not a problem for me at the moment. I am in a period where there is not a lot to do. But for you, it feels like, there's like 5,000 things to do at the moment, and trying to avoid going completely off the deep end with doing too much and ending up burnt out might not be a bad thing to at least set up practices and whatnot in order to avoid these things.
There's that. I mean, to be clear though, like a lot of the problems are that I'm working on client at home and separate games at work, and I think a lot of there's another thing that is just like, okay, if you're an indie developer and your focus is one game, that is also difficult, but there is definitely the realization, like, you can write down all the tasks you have to do for that game, and yes, oh my God, organizing that priority is a nightmare. And you can schedule your time so that you never spend more than 9 hours in the office, for instance, or you can find a way to delineate between, like, this is at home time versus office time. And I'll admit, like, if you're really early in starting a studio, you're probably not going to do that, because no one starts a business and doesn't give it their all initially. Like starting a business is a crazy high risk thing. You just do that. And starting an indie studio is basically starting a business. But you know, like theoretically and such, I can see how that happens. I think there's another thing that I haven't really touched on and I can't really articulate because I don't really know what I'm saying right now. But it's like
work through it.
There's the thank you, Chris. There's like there's the things you will find a way to do the things you want to do, even if it's not. Oh, well, all right. I will find a way to do the things I want to do, even if they don't quite fit into a schedule of what is the most practical or realistic thing at any given time. Like, I'd be a lot less stressed out if I wasn't making kind and I don't have to do that, but I'm going to do it. Like, it's just going to happen at this point. Like, so you bring it on yourself, I guess, might be what I'm trying to say.
Well, you do. You definitely do. And there is... I mean, everyone does to an extent. Particularly the problem you're encountering is that all your work is also the passion projects and like even the stuff that you're working on for the day job, which isn't at this stage the molasses flood, is still born out of your desire to do your own thing. So it's all kind of intertwined. Like, you're not working a job where it's like, I go to work and I come home. I clock in, I clock out, and I don't think about it at all once I've left work. It's like, don't care. I finished putting the stamps on the things and then I left. Like, that's not the kind of job you're doing. So it's an understandable problem to have, but yeah, if it's affecting you in a negative way, then that...
I think I'm just venting. I think
that's fine.
The real
that's
problem
good too.
Okay, here's the other thing. It's like I've got a lot of life stuff and I've got a lot of stuff at work right now, so I can't work on the passion project I want to work on at home for a while, and that's making me like grumpy. I think that's the real. This is the real childish problem I'm dealing with. Like, we're spending way too much time talking about my dumb childish problems. There's probably like like people listen to this for like the industry shit.
They probably do, right? They probably come to this podcast because they're like, well, I wanted to get the insider scoop on the latest news. I wonder if Chris has eaten all the donuts today. Will he talk about that again? Like, yeah, that's...
I thought that played real well when we talked about the donuts. I thought that was definitely like
that was gold. People remember that. They love that. But it's t-shirts and printed up with it with my face with a donut in it. It was a good time. But...
That's good. You got the merch figured out, man. Like, that's how most people forget that part. Like,
money, Gwen. I'm always thinking. I ain't got a lot of it. So
you're building a brand, man. You got to get the merch figured out. You know?
Every day. I know we don't normally acknowledge the chat while we're in a podcast, but I could edit this out if I wanted to. I just like that Peter Triple Z said, "Wait, this isn't EA Insider?" Like a question. Anyway, I found that funny.
Just like that you said Z.
Oh, yeah, of course, that's different. I forgot. I was like, wait, what? That's his name. And it's like, oh, yeah, countries.
All right, now reading the chat. You know the rules. We have rules here. Okay. What was I going to say?
Yeah, so balance, work-life balance, whatnot. And yeah, you described it as like a childish thing, but I mean, I don't think it is. I don't necessarily think it's like childish to be stressed by life where you're like, I want to do the thing I want to do, because the thing you want to do has been your job for a long time.
Yes. Hold on. We're gonna cut this part if we're cutting this, because I got nothing more to say on that stuff.
Okay.
I feel like we spent too much time talking about just that. I just needed to vent.
That's fine.
That might not even... We could just cut that entire part of the podcast.
Gwen, we can cut whatever you want. It's the magic of digital. Like, that's what we do.
Alright, okay, we should talk about the industry.
Okay. Right. The industry, Gwen.
The industry. Chris,
tell me about the industry.
The games industry. Okay, so we've had what's happened this week? There hasn't been much, but there has been two big things. The thing that interests me the most is Microsoft. I sent you an article yesterday, I think. Did you read it at all?
Yes, you did. I did.
Yeah. So there was all these rumors that there was going to be there was a leak supposedly that Microsoft was going to make 2 consoles, and one of them was going to be like a streaming console, and one was maybe going to be a regular console. There's this big thing on I forget who leaked it. I read about it on GamesIndustry.biz, but like
it was everywhere. It was the rumor at the time. This was just before Gamescom was at Gamescom, because Microsoft said we've got hardware announcements for Gamescom. Which, my God, their Gamescom thing was so fucking boring. I'm sorry, Microsoft, but that was 2 hours of my life I will not get back. Never felt like that before.
I didn't watch that one live.
Oh my God.
I usually watch E3 live.
It may as well have been like a live catalog program where it's just like, here's some games you've already seen, but buy them. And then they're like, and now the hardware bundle. And it's a white console that comes with the game. And you're like, oh, cool. It was 2 hours, Gwen. I watched it all because I thought something will happen, but it never did. But the rumor before the actual event itself was that they were going to have hardware announcements, and that one of them was going to be a purely streaming console. It was like, maybe it will be the much touted streaming service Microsoft seemingly are working towards.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's not like they're working towards it. They have it, right? Like, they have Games of Gold already. This is their answer to, like, you see this across the industry. You see Humble Monthly being one.
Well, they've got Game Pass at the moment. Yeah, that's the thing. That's existed for a little while. And it is, in terms of a value prospect, it is a very good one. They've got quite a few good games on there, and you can access them at any time and download them and play them. The rumor was streaming, was the rumor before, which was... If you remember, on live like that, but actually working, like was the idea.
So was cloud streaming the rumor?
That was what people thought Microsoft were working towards, and that they think the next generation of Xboxes will be that. Like, there will be one that will be purely just that. But again, it's all just rumors. There's nothing confirmed
a lot of. It sounds a lot like a lot of people are pushing into different cloud streaming stuff, and
Seemingly.
It sounds a lot. I think another big thing that people have been talking about a lot is the move towards subscription models.
Yes.
Like, is
Netflix
like is
of
the way
games.
people is the way you get games going to be like Netflix and HBO and such. And Microsoft basically put out a was it today or yesterday? It must have been yesterday because I linked it to you yesterday. An article about. Sorry, they put out an article. They were talking about a new pricing model they're doing where they are letting people pay monthly to get the console and also Games Pass and Games of Gold.
Yes.
All in one thing. And I think, and that was compared to being like a phone service. Sorry, this isn't my way. It's very similar to how cable boxes work in America, where you get like a package. You get you rent the cable box hardware, and you pay for that each month, and you also, through that, with different packages, you could get HBO and you could get Netflix, or I assume other channels. I don't have cable, but like, it sounds like Microsoft is trying to do that, but with games.
Yes.
And I think that's interesting.
It is.
Like, they're trying to replace the cable box, which they've been trying to do for a while.
Yeah, I mean, that was the initial push of the Xbox One before everyone went, no, abort, and fired everyone that ever said anything on that E3 presentation stage. But it was like, they have done this before where they've done, I remember, not with a subscription, but with a monthly payment plan for an Xbox. Like, I remember just in Microsoft stores. They've done that before. But yeah, this is the first time they've done it whilst also incorporating this, hey, maybe you don't even ever need to buy games, like Xbox Game Pass kind of thing, which is interesting. And yeah, replacing the sort of cable box situation, that seemed to be where they've wanted to go with the Xbox for a while.
I definitely think it's really interesting. I didn't know they had done the kind of payment plan thing for Xboxes before.
Yeah,
that's news to me. Like, I guess I haven't been keeping up.
It was either just in Europe or just in the US. This was a few years ago that in Microsoft stores you could go and get Xboxes. There you go, in England. Sorry, again, I'm acknowledging the chat, but I knew it was specifically somewhere you could go into Microsoft stores and set up a payment plan for your consoles. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, this idea is interesting, and it has piqued your interest, Gwen.
Well, I mean, it's another indicator that the market is moving in this direction, and I actually do kind of agree. I mean, I think it's almost inevitable that we're going to move towards a world where there's simultaneously subscription services and also bespoke games that people pay for. I actually agree that that's probably going to happen. I think I don't know what that means for us as a company at the Molasses Flood, and I don't know if I like it. And I don't think it matters if I like it or not. I think it's just kind of going to happen no matter what. So,
yeah, it's interesting.
One of the things I like that they said was they were talking about how they found more success. They thought initially people would want like thousands of games, but it turns out what people really want is a curated set of like maybe 100 games. So something for everybody, but that's good each month. Seemingly being more, they seem to make it sound like they want to be more like HBO and less like Netflix, which I think is wise for them. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't know, that as somebody who has HBO and does not have Netflix, that makes sense to me. Yeah. Like people don't have the kind of time to, I don't feel like scrolling through loads of crap on Netflix.
That's my problem. HBO isn't a thing here in the UK, and I have Netflix, and I open Netflix, I'm just like, I don't know. What could I watch? I don't know. And you just scroll for everything forever, and then I turn it off. And curation is definitely something I feel doesn't hurt. Like, I do enjoy, like, just as the world has got larger thanks to the internet, there's so much more stuff. Whereas when we were younger and we were reading magazines and hearing music on the radio and seeing programs on the television, it was all curated by people. This was all, you see this television show because someone at the television company said, yep, that's the TV show we're going to do. Whereas now, everything ever at all times. And it does kind of make, the idea of curation is definitely nice, like, to have that, just in that sense.
Yeah, I do like that. Though it does mean, I haven't done any research at all into how TV shows are structured, for instance. And do certain networks own... I mean, this makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot more sense now why Microsoft has been buying up studios. They're buying up... If their goal is to be the HBO of video games...
That's true.
Having a bunch of studios that are releasing games regularly on like a 2 to 3 year cycle, say... that can keep pumping things into their store and keeping it fresh. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
The same way like Netflix has their own... Netflix now has a stable of their own games, and HBO obviously, I believe, funds all of the series they have.
That is interesting. It'd be an interesting little twist on console exclusives. In terms of it's their streaming services exclusive. And an interesting thing, PlayStation, they have that PlayStation Now, I think it's called, or PlayStation Go or something. But a friend of mine who lives in Canada, who doesn't really get much time to play games, but he sent me a message saying, I've been playing, you can play PlayStation games just on your PC. Like, you subscribe to this thing and I can plug my PlayStation controller in and I just sit there. I've been playing The Last of Us. It's great. And Sony have been doing that where, and it streams, and apparently it works. And there was a point where if you had like a Sony TV, you can get this app and you just Bluetooth connect a PlayStation controller to your Sony TV and you just sit there playing it, no hardware involved other than the TV, which is a smart TV, obviously, as they all are now. But
yeah, so it's like so there's smart TV. Hold on, I'm confused. So so is it like streaming?
Seemingly,
like
yeah.
Like the game is running on a computer somewhere else and streaming over the internet to the TV.
Yeah, that seems to be how it's working. I haven't actually like used it myself because I don't know, all the titles on it were really old and I was just like, nah, I'm good. I've played these games. But my friend was seemingly playing them on his computer, which I think is a Mac, and was just sitting there playing this over the internet.
This is what the talking heads believe is going to happen. If you listen to the talking heads, it's that we are going to move towards way more subscription services and way more streaming stuff. It does seem to be what a lot of people are investing in, like it or not. So I have no idea what that means for indie studios. Like, I have no idea what you do to position that you weren't doing before. In a way, I think curation is good. I don't know.
Well, there's curation already I think. But then I look at some of the shit on the fucking Switch store, and I'm just like, what is this? Like, there's stuff on there that I'm like, Nintendo approved this? This is barely a video game, but like, I don't know. But there is presumably a curation on consoles, is my understanding at least. Whereas Steam, it's like, we're not curating anything ever, because they don't want to have conversations about anything ever.
That's a hot button issue.
Yeah, well, that seems to be what they don't want to do. But they're like, oh, no opinions, goodbye. We just want your money. Like, that's fine.
Well,
but,
the second you wade into that, like, it's, oh god, I don't envy that position either. Like, being the one that has to decide. You get to decide what is acceptable on a market, what is porn and what is not porn, as far as video games go.
Yeah, like, that's a tough balance, because someone could make the case. They could be like, that Mass Effect game's porn. Look at them. Look at them having sex in that video game. Like, yeah, but it's not gratuitous. We cut away to the stars.
Yeah.
That, you know.
Where do you
tough
draw
line.
the line?
Glad I don't have to do that.
I'm not a fucking lawyer. Like,
but that presumably
ethical person that has to make that decision.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
That was presumably always a thing that was a thing, or maybe still is, with consoles, where it's like Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo, someone will make that decision because you have to get approval to go on their platforms. So there will be things,
and you have to pass cert, and there's curation. I think I think
so. All of that already exists. Like, it's, I don't know. Again, if you've got a streaming service, I don't know how, and maybe you could explain what your concerns are, like, to me, but like how that would make any difference to an indie studio. Like, is it just monetarily because you're not, like, I mean, I guess you can't go into details because The Flame in the Flood is on Game Pass, but I mean, this is a while after it's already been out and everything like that. You're not launching. But then there are games that you like, what is it? State of Decay 2, Sea of Thieves. They both launched on Game Pass to the point.
I'm sure they got money for that.
Of course they did.
Made a bet up front.
100%. But it's one of those ones where I could it looked at it and it was like, oh, I could buy Sea of Thieves on the Xbox store, or I could just give them half the price of the video game and get 3 months of Game Pass. So I get the game for 3 months as well as all the other games. So it's like, the prospect is you'd be stupid to buy it on its own under that kind of logic. So I don't know how that affects things in that sense.
I think the fear, if there is a fear, would be that consumers move towards these kind of walled garden subscription services and stop using Steam. And so if you aren't somebody who has the connections to, like, say you're a developer out in India somewhere.
Yes.
You don't know people at Microsoft or Sony. You don't have connections. India's a bad example because they speak English. Maybe you live in a country where they don't speak English.
Yeah.
And in general, like, it's just very difficult to get your work out there and get seen. The argument would be that if people aren't on an open platform like Steam, if consumers have moved over to like a walled garden system, then you're gonna have a lot harder time getting noticed. But I mean, the counter argument to that is that you're already gonna have an impossible time getting noticed on Steam anyway, because there's so much stuff.
Yeah.
You're just gonna get lost in the noise. So I don't necessarily think that either. There's just a lot of games out there, man.
This is the other thing. Thinking about
I
Steam.
don't have like a fully formed opinion on this. I think it just sort of is. Like, we all just gotta brace for this. I do think it's gonna force more people to use publishers. And I think you're gonna see more stuff in your contracts where, say, if you make a deal with Microsoft, they're going to basically not sign contracts, for instance, if you don't agree to be on Game Pass or one of these subscription services. I imagine that's gonna be more common.
I mean, there's also the interesting idea of the sort of, like, Microsoft is selling the Xbox because they're like, this is the best thing to stream our video games on. But conversely, you can do them on the PC if you've got a PC already. Like, whether they launch Game Pass on PC, because they do a lot of the cross-play stuff already. So, you know, do you get to that position, like with the older games with Sony, where it's like, maybe you don't even need a console if you don't want one. You can access some of our other games through your TV or like on your fridge if you're Samsung and like stuff like that.
Oh man. I never thought about the streaming to the fridge
Oh,
technology.
yeah.
You could be
Samsung
making-
smart fridges. They got those
Oh my God.
huge screens.
Chris, you could be playing Overcooked while overcooking your food.
Oh my God.
Like you could accidentally.
Overcooked 2 is so good, by the way. It's one of the few games I reviewed for a magazine here in the UK was Overcooked, and I gave it a 9 out of 10. And the only reason I didn't give it 10 out of 10 was because it didn't have online play, and playing with 3 people was kind of complicated. And it was like, those are 2 little niggles. So they're not. So 9 out of 10 because it's brilliant. Otherwise, 10 out of 10 if I was reviewing the second one.
They say, okay, so the list of the things that you absolutely under no circumstances should ever make. The top of the list is couch co-op.
Yes.
4-player couch co-op, it's considered a dead genre. Like more
It's
than
tough.
after that, they would be like the don't ever try to pitch a 2D platformer in this market. Publishers will laugh at you. Don't try to pitch a puzzle game. That's a pretty big like. In Boston, we go over here's the list of shit not to do at our like Boston Indies meetups, and that always makes me real mad. But like that, like number one by far and away, what you should absolutely never do under any circumstances, make a 4-person couch co-op, because apparently game developers love to make them and consumers never buy them. At least that's what I've been told.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
so far the data does indicate that's probably true.
maybe. Again, even when I was reviewing it, I was lucky that we were at the time living in a place where there was 4 of us to play this game, so my review could be completely based on the optimum experience, where I could be like, there was 4 of us, I played it like this, and if you play it the way it's intended, it's so good.
Like it's considered. I should look at the numbers for that. I wonder if I can drag them up because it's considered like it's loved. It got a sequel
brilliant.
Immediately. Like it's a
Yeah.
fantastic game. So I think they might have. I hope that they proved everybody wrong.
I hope so, because
That
it's...
there is a couch co-op.
Oh,
You
man,
always
it's so
want
much
people
fun.
to prove shit wrong. That's
Yeah,
important.
especially if something with something like that where you play it and you're like, this is so good and so much more. Like I think I said it was like one of the best co-op games ever, like that I've ever played, because it was so much fun. Like when you get into it, you're so zoned in that it was like, and that, like you say, that is the example where you're like, oh, these games don't work, but this one's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So definitely play this one.
You know, there's always the exception that proves the rule,
Yeah.
and there's always like. I love it when an article ends in, by the way, don't take any of my advice, because at the end of the day, if you're passionate about something and you have a brilliant breakout idea, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I want very much to believe that that's true. I think it is. Like I think Overcooked it's
helps
not
prove
online.
that.
Even Overcooked 2 is not online. It's all
It
couch
is.
co-ops.
Overcooked 2 does have online.
It
So
does,
that's
yeah.
why I was saying that's the one point that I was like, can't give you 10 out of 10, because if you had online, then
And they fixed it, yeah.
yeah, it would be perfect game, but like now it has. But yeah, there's a few examples of that where it's like the game comes out and you're like, oh, this isn't a game that would traditionally super excite everyone, and yet it is so good in its execution.
Mhm.
So yeah, who knows? Who knows?
So good that there's going to be clones. Do you think we're not going to get flooded with?
Maybe.
That's-
I mean, I'm waiting for. I mean, it's already happening with the Fortnite situation, but
Oh,
nobody's cracked that yet, and I don't know if anyone will. I don't think there's going to be any company, even when you're putting it in Call of Duty and stuff like that. I don't think anyone can fuck with Epic, where they make the bar of entry 0 monies, and then little microtransactions. Like they're like, you want to play Fortnite? Free. Play it for free.
Other companies will come out with free-to-play clones as well. There will be loads of clones. The bean counters will fucking throw beans at people who say that they're going to make free-to-play games, and you'll see a bunch of them. I'm not in San Francisco. I don't know for sure that this is happening, but I would be surprised.
More than likely, it's that combination of them being able to make a really quality game that's really captured the zeitgeist and everything. But I guess it's the same as like, let's all make MMOs. It's like you're never gonna. You're not going to be Warcraft. Warcraft 15 years later is a game I'm now playing for the first time. So it's like...
You never played World of Warcraft back in the day?
Never had a PC that could play any video games.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Holy shit, wow.
Never lived that
Damn.
life. Everyone lived that life, but I didn't. And I was jealous of them, which is why I'm doing it now. Why I'm like, I want to do it. I want to commit, and I want to get a character to max level just so I can be like, I fucking did it once in my life. God damn it!
That's right. You follow your dreams. You
Right?
get that.
I can live them. I'm gonna hit 120, Gwen. We're 66 now, but we're getting there. It's only taken a month. I got time. Anyway.
Oh, I love it. This is amazing. Okay, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I suspect that the battle royale thing is. I would suspect that there's a lot of money being thrown at that. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be a lot of money thrown at some other stupid shit next. Whatever hits next year, we'll see.
More than likely, that'll be interesting. What will be the next thing? But we'll see in time. We couldn't even speculate. But yes,
maybe it's 4-person couch co-op. Maybe we're really bringing it back.
Maybe it's Kine. That will be the fucking.
Kine is the yeah.
Yeah. Get those things doing more evocative dances that kids can do, and then your money.
Oh, God, did you see the dance classes? They're teaching dance classes where you can learn to dance like the characters in Fortnite.
I bet there's like 2
advertised
ever,
as like
and
an
it's like
exercise thing. God.
All you need is one ever in one town, and everyone that's a journalist can write 5,000 articles about it and make it sound like everyone's doing dances in Fortnite. This is crazy, and it's like there was 1 and 2 people showed up. Like it's.
Well, I mean, the press has the ability to make something like that actually happen because
That's
they'll write
true.
that this is happening everywhere, and then somebody will read it and be like, "Oh, this is happening everywhere. What a great idea!" And then they'll start it. Like it's like, wait, who had the idea? Was it the person in the press? Like where?
That someone just made it up. Maybe you could do that. Why not? And then I could write articles about it.
Well, and there's the reality, right? Or like if the press write, everybody's playing this, people will be like, "Oh, everyone's playing this. I should go play it." And then everybody's playing it. It's chicken or the egg. You don't know which one you're gonna get.
Who knows? Who knows, Gwen?
Did you get the press because people are playing, or are people playing because you got the press?
Dun dun dun. Secrets of video games exposed. We should probably wrap this up unless you have anything else to touch on, Gwen.
No, I'm done touching stuff.
Gwen is done touching stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you for listening, all of you in podcast world. We are streaming this live on Twitch at the moment. If you want to join us, we record on Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. UK time. And that's twitch.tv/DireGoldfish, which Dire Goldfish is also where you can follow Gwen on Twitter. And I'm Chris Slight. All one word. Nice and easy. We will now probably take some questions, if anyone has them, in the Twitch chat. But for now, in this podcast form, we're going to wrap this up. Thanks for listening.
This has been Gwen Frey and Chris Slight, and you've been in the Dialogue Box.
Done.
We should cut the part where I was just bitching at the beginning.
We'll see. I'll see how it sounds. Hi, everyone.
There's no meat on that bone.
Maybe not, but maybe it was good for you, and that was the point. Proteus MT, we did make it. We made it. Cut it to only be that part. That is a solid idea, Proteus. Just like 14 minutes of just that. Sup, Wheeze 202. Root Lancer, sup. Yeah, how you guys doing?
We effectively made a podcast with absolutely nothing.
Hey, Gwen, that's what we've been doing for almost 2 years. I think we're doing well.
Yeah. Oh, is this well?
Well, I mean, it's still going, which is more than can be said for many a show. So,
yeah.
You know, I consider that a success. We had a very low bar of what this was going to do. So I think anything above it just existing is a benefit. Good cast. Do you guys do Skype? No, we're using Discord. Shooting from the hip but still getting kills. Hell yeah, Animal Nature. That's how we live. How do you get such great audio quality? I have a very, very expensive microphone and soundboard. Gwen seemingly has like a plastic microphone on a desk that's just like taped there with duct tape, but somehow it still sounds really nice, which annoys me because I'm like, but I spent so much money on all this shit. Like, look at this microphone. This is like the microphone Frasier uses. It's craziness. Like, it's.
I think you like overcomplicated it.
I have.
This was $20 on Amazon, and I went with the highest reviewed one on Amazon. That's it.
Add like $100, and that is.
I'll say this just every now and then it just does things like
it autofocuses. Is it a Logitech webcam?
I don't know.
She doesn't even know.
Microsoft on the end. I was going to pick it up and show you, but I can't show you.
Wow.
I can't point it at itself. That's not possible.
Can't show me the webcam, no. Good deal on the mic. Chris sounds so smooth, though. Yes, I do. But that's thanks to compression built into the soundboard and me messing with the bass levels. Whereas, I mean, I can turn the bass right up and it sounds like this. Literally gold. And I can just turn it back down to where I had it before. But that's part of the magic of having a soundboard. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to get them in the chat and we can answer them. So turn it down. Was that not good? It was more bass, not like the ideal English Kelsey Grammer. I've made it. I've finally done it. I've been compared to Kelsey Grammer. I can finally tap out. I've done it.
Thanks for the host wheeze, by the way. I saw that early on.
Oh, dude. Yeah, thank you very much. I did notice that suddenly we had like 40 people. It went from 9 to 40 in like a second. And I was like, the fuck? Where did these people all come from? Thanks
it's
for
not
that.
rude. Megaspell, plug it. What do you got? Show
Yeah,
what
feel
you got,
free.
man.
Overproduced audio irks me.
How
When
has the
people put
Flame
all
of
the
the Flood
bass.
been performing on Game Pass? I don't seem excited about streaming curation. Well, I mean, I'm not. It's not that I'm unexcited. It's an unknown thing that's happening, and that I have no decision about. I don't feel positive or negative about it in any way, really. It just kind of is. I don't know. Subscription services are just going to change the industry, and I don't know how yet. And I don't even really know where to begin speculating on how things will change. It could be that, like, you see more of publishers buying companies. You could see... I feel like the best way to research this would be to look into, like, what HBO does. Because I don't know. I don't even know where to begin on this, honestly.
Well, there are many people I imagine working on this right now, and they're going to come up with the answers, and yeah, we can all reap the benefits, hopefully.
Us being on Game Pass, that was actually handled by our publisher, Curve. I know
nice.
the amount of money we got for that, and I can't give you any detail.
No.
I'm sorry. Obviously, more people have played it, of course, because it's available for free to loads of people that didn't have it before. So a lot of the people that, yeah, like we got more people playing it, and that's good. But I mean, if you want a lot of people to play the game, if we put the Flame of the Flood on itch.io for free, a lot of people would play it.
True.
Like, you can't, like, that doesn't feed you.
No.
And this goes into other stuff, like, why do you do things? Do you make games because you want a lot of people to play them? Do you make games because you want to make a lot of money? Do you want to make enough money to eat, and beyond that you don't care, as long as enough people play the game to get you there? Where do you fall on the spectrum, and a lot of these things? It's a decision you have to make, and you have to decide what your targets are, I suppose. Anyway, because I think most people go indie, they do it because they want to make what they want to make, but they also want to be paid to make what they want to make, but not necessarily as much if they were just going for it, making, like, obviously there's ways to do cash grabs, right? There's obvious things you can do that'll make more money than the thing that you're probably doing when you're indie. And then there's a spectrum of that, right? Like, you could go full-on commercial indie dev. You could go full-on release shit for free or release stuff. I say shit meaning stuff. Release stuff for free on itch.io that just expresses how you feel. And there's a bunch of spectrum in between. And there's a bunch of responsibility you have once you hire people, like making sure that once you have employees, you have a responsibility to make sure that everybody gets paid and that you can keep those employees. And you have a responsibility to yourself to make sure that you have enough money to eat. And you just kind of balance these things. And there's no one solution. I think everybody's just kind of figuring it out. And the industry changes all the time, so your solution won't necessarily work forever. It's the other side of it.
Very true. There are many things to figure out. Does quality in streaming of video games trouble you in any way, as it seems to trouble Root Lancer and JTN 191?
I missed. Where was that?
Oh, they said JTN 191 said, I'm worried it'll result in shallower games, and Root Lancer said, I'm worried about the quality in streaming games too.
You think your concern is that, okay, so streaming, let's separate streaming from subscription, because they mean different things. And when you say streaming, what I'm thinking is on live, like playing a
Yes.
game on a server and streaming it over the internet, which would mean that affects the quality of games in that there's probably lag from going over the internet, and that's one conversation. And then there's a conversation about subscription services, and do you think subscription services will hinder the quality of games? And I think the argument I would say is, I'm not sure, but I would say that I would say that there's a lot of crap out there already, right? And I would say that there's like, do you think Netflix dumbed down TV? And if you consider that Netflix and HBO both exist, and personally, like, I like HBO better, HBO's put out consistently better TV than we've ever had in the past, right? Like, Game of Thrones is production value wise and everything else quite good, like incredible. So I wouldn't say that subscription services necessarily hinder content. I would say that subscription services make the way that you run your business different, because Game of Thrones is only on HBO. They can't be on Netflix. So it reaches a smaller audience, but an audience that pays more for it, which allows them to put out more premium content. And also, I assume, I don't know who runs Game of Thrones, but I assume HBO takes a large cut or / owns their IP, or maybe owns them, like, as humans. Like, maybe they've reinvented, like, brought back slavery. I don't know, like, how that
could just be they own the production company, one or the other.
Maybe they're like, I don't know, maybe they're just using like people from jail or some shit. Like, I don't know.
Maybe.
No idea how that shit
she doesn't
works,
know.
But like,
she's guessing. But for all legal intents and purposes, Gwen is making a hypothesis as to whether the company HBO is engaged in making prisoners make Game of Thrones for no money. She doesn't know. I mean, it's conjecture. She doesn't know.
That would be definitely on the wrong side of the law. But on the other hand,
if it was true, which we don't know if it is.
I don't know. I mean, what is truth? Clearly, we don't know anymore.
Hey,
like, we're in a post-truth society.
Yes.
It's truth.
That's true. Post-truth is the only truth, Gwen.
Oh, God.
Did it just get much darker? Like, as in the tone? Maybe. I don't know.
I was going for, like, sound like stoners, but then you just, like, brought it down.
Me?
Or maybe I brought it down. Maybe I'm just sad. I don't know. Am I looking for slave labor? Oh no, we're not looking for slave labor at the Molasses Plant.
Not currently. I don't believe they are. I can't speak for that company, but I'm gonna guess.
You think Telltale episodic games could be good for a subscription model? I think, you know who I think is ideal is actually, what is it? The Zachtronics games. If he could get on a cadence where he releases a game at a regular interval, like say once a year, which I think he's already kind of there. That seems like the kind of thing, like, say Microsoft buys up a bunch of company. I mean, okay. So you already have this thing where every year, this is contentious, but basically every year you expect an Assassin's Creed, historically, and there's certain franchises that you expect every year. And if Microsoft can lock down those franchises and just become the HBO that's like, hey, do you want to play Assassin's Creed and the Zachtronics games and, I don't know, XYZ else? This is the channel where you get that premium. This is how you get all that premium content. Also, we're selling other games, but the way you get this, if you ever want to play Zachtronics, you got to buy into our ecosystem.
That's
have
what
our
I'm
Xbox.
thinking. Yeah, I imagine that's what that would be the new spin on console exclusives. Would actually be streaming service exclusives, and whether the physical box necessarily needs to be a thing.
Moved. Oh, I was still talking about subscription.
Yeah, me too. Subscription, streaming. Subscribe to streaming. I don't know. That's what I'm talking about. Like, you subscribe to them in order to get the exclusives.
In my head, I haven't linked these two things. Like, I believe you can have a subscription service where you're playing games and you're downloading them.
Just a matter of the internet being a little faster. That's in order for streaming video games to work.
But like, these are two different ideas, right? Like, the idea of, are we going to get video games through subscription services, and the idea of, are we even going to install games anymore, or are we going to play them over the internet? Those are like two totally different conversations in my mind.
Yeah, but I also feel they link very easily, in that Netflix is a streaming video service, and that's what, when people say the Netflix of video games, they are surely pointing to a streaming service, because that's exactly what films and music are now. Much smaller file sizes, which makes life a lot easier in terms of actually streaming it on a current internet, but with, you know,
But
compression
I guess
and
what I would
whatnot getting
argue is
better.
we could see a world where subscription services don't take off, but streaming is a huge thing, and people will still they'll buy games piecemeal through a marketplace and play them over the internet without ever installing something. And I can definitely see that world. And I can also see a world where streaming doesn't take off for whatever reason. Maybe we never fix the lag. Maybe I mean, remember the original Xbox came out and Xbox One came out and they were supposed to with the launch of that, it was going to launch. The idea was you always had to be connected to the internet, and Microsoft got spanked for that. Like, they got slapped hard for that, right?
They did, because of the 5 people
would...
that don't have the internet. Like, it was it was an issue.
And has that changed though? I mean, are we?
Probably not.
This is the fear with the streaming. Like, I know it's tempting to link them because Netflix exists and has both, but I honestly think the idea of your payment structure, getting games, buying them piecemeal versus buying them through a subscription service and having something similar to the Humble Monthly, is a different conversation than
it is.
Yeah. So
I mean, to me though,
I just keep in.
I do think
the other thing is, do you think Humble Monthly will kill Steam? That takes streaming completely out of the question, right? Like, if Humble Monthly gets big enough, and gets enough exclusives, if the only way you can get your Zachtronics games,
I don't even know what a Zachtronic game is.
Okay, the only way you can get your
sorry,
what is it, the Walking Dead?
Telltale games.
Telltale games. If the only way you could get Telltale games was through Humble Monthly, and also Humble was selling all the games you could get on Steam, also just through their storefront. You'd be tempted to just always stay in the Humble storefront because they have the thing you want, and you're subscribed to their subscription service, so you're always there. There's a bunch of other games you could check out anytime, and if you want a piecemeal game, you can buy it directly from there. There's no reason to ever open Steam. I think that would be the hope of somebody who's setting up a subscription service. Maybe.
I don't see. Because it's the Humble Monthly as it is at the moment, it's kind of like, you get one game you want, and here's all these other things, and people kind of got tired, or at least people in the circle I move in got tired of having loads of game keys that they didn't use, and were like, well, I could just save this money. Like, I don't necessarily need to do this, because time is only so long that you're not actually going to sit down and play all these games just for the fun of it, so the kind of novelty wore off a little bit. But
yeah. And I think what Microsoft's hypothesis is, based solely on the article they put out today, is that Humble went for the Netflix model when they should have went for HBO. That instead of having your subscription service be like an a la carte, all kinds of thing, kind of thing, only release games that are higher quality.
I would agree with that. Well, that was the initial pull. It was like there were some kind of big marquee games in it. Like, I think they even had Destiny 2. Like, they generally have a marquee game where you're like, oh shit, okay, I paid $12 and I get this game? That's awesome. But yeah, then they would have a bunch of games that you were like, I don't know what this is, and I don't really have the time to play it. And yeah, I guess that's where the novelty kind of wore off for people, because I don't know, it felt like you were spending a lot of money. You realized how much you were spending over a year, and you were like, I don't want all this stuff. So yeah, a more curated thing would be a good time.
It's definitely like, I mean, there's a lot of conversations about storefronts among indies. Like, what is the ideal storefront? There's a lot of frustration among indies about the chunk of money that you pay to your storefront. Like 30%, paying 30% to a storefront sucks. On the other hand, like,
well, that's a conversation in and of itself.
Yeah. I don't know what goes into. On the other hand, like, if I was to start a website and just sell keys, I can't even imagine selling an executable. That's where I am mentally. Like, I just can't even imagine doing it.
No.
But like I don't know, no one would go to that website. It wouldn't work. I don't know how I would ever make that work.
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, I honestly see when the internet is good enough for everyone, or for the majority of people, some company will make streaming video games work, and I think that will be the good or bad for the industry, because that is the way a lot of entertainment has gone, and I feel that will be the way video games go, because if it's flawless and if it works and you pay less money, why wouldn't you do it?
Still crossing the streams between streaming and
subscription. I know. In my head, the ultimate form of the subscription model is the streaming model. I'm like, that's where you're going naturally.
You really can't have one without the other in your mind.
Oh, no, I can. You can, and they already exist. Like, Xbox Game Pass already exists, but in my head, what the future is streaming. Like, yeah, they both exist. You pay for it. Xbox Game Pass is streamable. Like, that's... in my opinion, that's where that's going. But, I don't know.
Or like something like a... They're definitely trying to look and feel like a cable box in America. Do you guys have this idea out there that like when you move into a new apartment or a new house or something, somebody comes out and they install a cable box?
Kinda. I mean, TV's kind of different over here in that you get Freeview, you get the free channels, and you don't need a box. Like, you just need an aerial light that you plug into the back of your TV. Yeah, that's it. And even with digital, it all works through that. But you do have premium services like Sky TV or something like that you will install, but that's kind of optional. But yeah, the cable box being a thing we are aware of as an idea. Someone mentioned something about a New York Times article about whenever we finish talking about that.
Sorry, I'm
Lunoland in the chat. What's up, Lunoland? How you doing on the other side?
See you last week.
Force of Will, back at you with me, you New York Times writing post in case you still have some time left after the subscription streaming discussions. Yes, feel free if you have it. What up, y'all? Here for my weekly fix of indie gloom and doom. What's up, Luna? How you doing?
Sorry, I didn't mean to freak you out, man. I don't think this is a positive or a negative, it just is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, in terms of where music went, for a lot of musicians, streaming services are not good for them financially. And they're like, this isn't good. But for a bunch of musicians, they've been like, no, this is great, because we never would have been discovered and da-da-da-da-da. Like... But also, that's what I do. Like, I have Apple Music on this, and I would be like, I could spend £10 on one album, or I could spend £10 on all albums that are in Apple's ecosystem ever. Like, it feels like again, it's the Game Pass. Why would I pay $40 for this game when I could pay $20 and have all of the games? Like, it's like, you feel like you'd be doing a disservice to yourself at that stage. I guess my message was too long to show up in chat. Maybe it was. Maybe it was Force of Will. Whether it's good or bad, I mean, I don't know. But who knows? I mean, you hear a lot of conflicting things to do with music and stuff. Anyway, I have a question about demanding entitled gamers. I've been reading some comments about the Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay. Admittedly not my proudest moment. And frankly, I'm scared for the game developers out there. There's so many comments about delayed lip sync, sucky anti-analyzing, motion blur, making the game unwatchable from people who likely never opened Unity, Maya, Unreal in their life, never typed a line of code, etc. I know just enough to be dangerous, but to my untrained eye, the gameplay demo looks stunning. It's a real technical achievement. I kind of gave up on the game dev dream, but damn, I don't envy other developers out there. Any thoughts on this? Is it just a loud minority, or the sheer volume of games released every day creating some sort of expectation creep? There's a lot there.
So there's a couple things there. I think people who have started out making games or who know a bit about game development are, how do I put it? I wouldn't say it's not a situation where you know enough to be dangerous. I think it's actually the opposite. I think some of the best fans of things are usually people that have done some of that things. So most people who are super into football played a little bit of football in high school, and I think it's good that a lot of people are getting into like either hobbyist game development or stuff because it really does help you appreciate how difficult it is. I think a lot of these entitled, what you're calling entitled gamers, are most likely people that have never opened. You're right, never opened Unity and that sort of thing. That being said, I mean, people being loud and snippy on the internet isn't exactly new. Like this has been the way the internet has been since the internet. I don't remember a time before this. Like I I'm not going to tell those stories, but like it's always been the internet, man. Like people are assholes on the internet. I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
right. I'm just saying it's not.
It's not new or uncommon.
In fact, saying that there's sucky anti-aliasing and delayed lip sync is a pretty, in a way, I'm proud we've come this far because it used to just be like, your game's shit. I'm gonna like it used to be stupider. So like in a way, hey, that's kind of cool.
Just your game's just shit. That's shit. Why? I don't know. I just don't fucking like it. Now they know.
Your character's so ugly. I cropped my pants. Like the people say cruel. You will get a thick skin towards that sort of thing if you're a game developer. You'll hear it a lot. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It just sort of is.
Entitlement in fandoms.
Well, no, it's bad. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it is bad. Yeah, you don't have to say. People know what you mean, but
yeah.
Entitlement in fandoms isn't. I'm only aware of the term fandom thanks to people saying like shitty fandoms or entitlement in fandoms. Like that's all. I thought you just liked stuff, but that's seemingly common amongst all internet fandoms. Like look at Star Wars. Apparently, Star Wars is over. It's done. According to the fans of Star Wars that are the really loud people on the internet.
There's more of this out there nowadays than there used to be? I don't know, man. Like,
Probably
I remember people have been getting mad about this shit forever. Like, it's not, I guess to me, it just doesn't seem like there's been any ratcheting up of people getting mad on the internet. I feel like this has always been the way it is.
No, I would agree. Like, good old Jar Jar Binks is always my example of that, right? That was like 1999 that fucking the world exploded because this guy here, Jar Jar Binks, made everyone so angry, and yet he is probably the most emotive character in that entire film. But yeah, it's been around forever, and it's not uncommon. That doesn't excuse it, and it also I had someone actually, a member of the Discord that we have, that was talking about how he ended up he was following like 1,000 odd people, and he's got it down to like 100 and something, because he was actually talking about like, I'm fucking sick of hearing people that like video games moaning about video games all the time and talking about how shit everything is. And I was like, and the conclusion was just like, you just gotta unfollow a bunch of people, dude. Like, if that kind of content is not for you and it's making you like, oh, for fuck's sake, then it's just like, just turn it off. But I imagine, like he's saying, for developers of video games that like I remember Star Wars Battlefront 2 coming out, and the consensus seemed to be that fucking everyone hated it and it was some sort of terrible time. But I remember talking, it was me and Chris Lum, we're both talking to each other like, we fucking love this game. It's so much fun. Why is everyone shitting on it?
This is so normal. Because if you like the game, you're playing the game. If you don't like the game, you're on the forum complaining about the game. That's standard.
Yeah.
If the second anybody goes to the forums, it self-selects for the people that are unhappy. So
True.
You're far more likely to leave a review if you had a bad experience than if you had a good one.
Oh yeah, very true. That I never posted anything other than maybe on Twitter saying that Battlefront 2 was good. I guess I never went on their forums and was like, fuck yeah, Battlefront 2. I think I've never done that now thinking about it. However much I've loved the game, I have never felt the need to tell anyone that made it, like, I love this, unless I've met them in person. Then I've told them. But that's it.
I don't know if it's just you, force of will. I do think
No, it's not just you.
Another thing that has happened, I guess, over the years, I suppose, is that the in the beginning, like if you remember, like back in the 90s, it was the way it was kind of like accepted that you had an online persona, and you were like, oh well, he's a jerk on the internet, but in real life he's fine. And I know
That's video game reviewers on YouTube. Like, fucking... There's so many of them that I'm just like,
that used to
I
be
hate you.
like on the forums. The idea of you'd hide behind a handle and so you could say whatever you wanted, and that was normal. And I think that because a generation has grown up with the internet, the idea that you're a different person on the internet and real life is here is flipped for a lot of people. The internet, like, they don't remember time before that, and so if the idea of like somebody just, said a bunch of racial slurs and shit at you on the internet because the internet's the Wild West. Anyway, I'm going to go do my real life now. There is no real life. That's just their real life. And so it impacts people more, I think, now than it used to.
Oh, I would agree. So, there was definitely an element of when we were probably first going on the internet of, like, it being like this space that you could explore and, like, being this place where you could explore yourself, and you'd just be like, fuck you, like, on something, and be like, yeah, bye. Doesn't matter because it's not real. It's on the computer. It doesn't matter. Whereas now it's your life. It's every day. You're on the internet all the time. Like, it's...
No, it's flipped, right?
Yeah.
And, like, back then, you're like, oh, well, here I'm going to go into this forum, and on this forum, I'm going to be like, I don't know, Juicy Pear 48, and I'm gonna say a bunch
classic
of
Gwen.
I'm just gonna go troll this individual because I'm bored right now, and I'm gonna pretend I have these thoughts, and haha, now they're mad, and then
now I turn it off. Goodbye. Yeah.
Although
there are people that still do that, but then it's I guess we also have a glut of more information than we ever had before, and like an ease of people to do stuff like this. Than maybe even when we were like younger on the internet, like there wasn't a Twitter, there wasn't like a place where you could directly contact someone unless you could find their email address somewhere online and then be like, fuck you, like to them or something like that. So there was I don't know, there was still almost that level of like, it's not as easy to just log on to Twitter, which is the thing that like the fucking president's on, like that is the world, and just throw madness at other people. So
the type of people who troll when they're bored are actual trolls. Good people don't do bad things out of boredom. That's true. Yeah, I know. I just using that as an example. I can't really think of. I was definitely, maybe it was part of. You have to keep in mind I was pretty young when the internet was new.
Yeah.
But I remember being in middle school when AIM was like new, and the amount of drama on like the MSN Messenger and AIM Messenger and stuff. Like, you were an angsty just mess to your friends.
Screen names with like lyrics in them and like shit like that.
Yeah,
expressed
like
your emotions.
It was like keeping a diary but with other people, and then you go to school the next day and you'd be like, that didn't happen. What? And that was the early days of the internet. Like, what happened there wasn't real life.
Yeah, you'd go to school and it wouldn't like the two wouldn't always mesh. Like it would be a different thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because the second you talk to like somebody would like pour all these like crazy thoughts, like I'm suicidal because of this, and you'd be like, oh my god, I'm heading right over, and you'd be like, no, I was just talking on the internet. It's like, wait, but what if that was real? And back, I don't know, like it was just different back then.
It was.
We were. The people who were around before the early days of the internet, I don't know. We have a fucked up perspective on shit, I think, maybe. I don't know. And also we were children is another thing to keep in mind. Because, a lot of the people... I don't know. It's a difficult subject that I don't know. I'm probably not qualified to talk about. But a lot of the people now aren't like, one of them's the president. Like, it's not 10-year-olds. Like, well, that's a different conversation. Like, I don't.
You know what I mean? I don't want to get into that, but like, I guess that's the point of where it kind of becomes more real in that sense. Like, things that people say have weight and importance, and it isn't just, it's just that fucking shit on the computer. It's like, no, this is real. Like, this is the real world. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
The internet used to be good. It changed, man. Also, I like 10 of clubs, lowercase x, large x, my feelings 420 with the x's. That was how screen names were. That's how we lived. What a weird time to grow up, though. A totally new technology introduced you at the same time as being introduced to the world. Yeah, it's interesting. Like that.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Like the formative years of consumer level internet.
Oh man, animal nature. Yeah. So being a kid when the internet was new was fun.
Oh, was that your name, by the way? Did you used to?
Yeah, I just typed it in. That was how I went.
Nice.
Yeah, right. Cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
That was cool.
I don't remember what mine was. I think I was really boring, and I'd always just call myself Chris. Like, maybe with things around it, but like just Chris.
So I remember I have so many stories about the early days of the internet. Like I remember, how old was I? So I have an older brother. We must have been like he must have been like 8. The quest for my brother to get porn on the internet was really just incredible. Like,
why were you involved?
No, well, I mean, okay, so
this is gonna get weird fast.
No. So our
I'm like,
parents
whoa,
had
we're learning more.
the password for AOL,
yes,
right? And they wouldn't just like give it to us because nobody knew what was going on the internet. So like, anyways, so and my brother had to brag about his various like tricks. So one of them he did, because I wanted the AOL password too. We were in this.
Yeah,
we were both.
You were in it together. You had different reasons, but he was into it.
So he taught himself Visual Basic, and he made like a version of the AOL login screen.
What?
And he would get like, he would say that he needed the internet for like some school project or something, and my mother would come over and type in the password, and it would go to like the waiting screen, and then after she left, he'd hit like J star or whatever the code was, and then it would just pull up the password because it wasn't actually
amazing.
The login screen.
Yeah.
And he would like the stuff he would get up to steal the password from my parents was just brilliant.
That's fucking amazing. Like
beyond, for an 8-year-old. Like,
he was 8?
We were very young.
Either way, like I couldn't do that fucking now. This is what I look back on those things. I'm like, man, I wish I wasn't dumb. Like, like I could have done smart shit like that.
Dude, it's something about like a boy at that age will accomplish inhuman shit to get access to like whatever. It was a long time ago, but yeah, that was
that's
impressive. Back when the internet was mostly porn.
I think it still is, isn't it? Like, as far as I'm aware.
I remember, what are the other things? I remember when, so my parents went to us and they sat my brother and I down and they're like, is there anything you want to tell us? Because we've been looking through what's going on the internet.
Oh no.
That statement, just that.
Yeah.
We've been looking through what's going on the internet.
We've seen what you're looking at. Yeah.
I was like a fucking Catholic at confession.
Oh,
I was
shit.
like, right. I said I would never put a picture online, but I wanted to make friends in an AOL chat room. I'm young. Like, I'm way too. So I put like, and it was just like a school photo of me. I was like, so I put a school photo of me online. I've been talking to these people, and I made a bunch of friends on the internet, and I'm going on and on and on and shit. My parents are just like white in the face, freaking out.
Yeah.
And it turns out in the end, my brother had just like put in his email, and some porn site had sent
a bunch of shit. So they were like, we know what's up.
Yeah, so they were fishing for him to figure out everything he did, and he didn't say a
you
goddamn.
Just sang like
just sat there.
Yeah.
Complete silence. Just let me just take that one. It seemed. And to be fair, like they were like, we're no longer mad at him. We're just really scared now.
Yeah, this is more troubling than we imagined. We just thought it was a teenage boy trying to look at naked women. It turns out like we should be very concerned about what's happening over here.
God,
they got Watergated. Yeah, they did. They got way more than they initially anticipated. They were like, I think they're spying on the Democrat. What the fuck? Like, holy shit.
Jesus, man.
Yeah.
It was a crazy time, yeah. I don't know. It was a good time, too.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like, just, like, having... Like, I always tell the story of, like, when we finally got the internet, like, sending an email to my friend and then, like, calling him to be like, I've sent you an email. And then he was like, cool, hang up. I sit and wait.
Yeah, we had to call your friend.
You had to turn the internet off. It was dial-up. So like, so you turn the internet off, and then he would ring back and be like, "I've replied," and I'd be like, "Okay, get back on the internet. Send and receive." And it's an email. It just says like, "Hello," and it was like, "Holy shit! It's an email. This is how we send emails to each other. This is amazing." I remember getting MSN for the first time, like asking my parents, like, "Can I download MSN Messenger? My friend at school wants me to get it." And they're like, "No, okay, sure." if it's a school-based thing, and I'm like, yes, that is what it is, and that is why I am getting it. Yeah, those are good times. And I remember seeing the internet. It was thesimpsons.com at a friend's house before I even had it, and just being like fucking blown away. I was like, there's just, and you can just click on it, and there's just all, you're telling me it is like the encyclopedia CD-ROMs we have, but it's just about the Simpsons? This is crazy. Yeah, to think what the internet became from what it initially was.
Other thing, like having to learn basic. I remember, I've told this story before, I think, but the most devious thing I got up to was by the time I reached college, caller ID was a big thing. So I had created basically I had a sheet in my wallet that was like, here's what the caller ID at home thinks that this this phone number is, and here's what it actually is. So like I could, so that if I was calling from my boyfriend's house, it would the caller ID at home would say it was calling from my best friend Katie's house, and I'd lie and say I was staying over with Katie, and like, so I just had this giant web that allowed me to do the things I wanted to do, while my parents believed I was doing other things.
You were like, I can understand why you are doing what you're doing. Like, I would never have figured out anything like that. Like, that's genius levels.
No, that's not really not.
I knew nobody who did that ever. Like, no, I know it isn't to you.
Lie to your parents.
Oh yeah, but not via technology. Like, I couldn't do that.
Well, you like, what choice did we have? If I said I'm staying at Katie's, they'd be like,
you just have to not phone.
I see on the caller ID you're calling from, Matt's. You're lying. So you had to come up with like, strategies. That was
smart. That was some smart stuff, Gwen. Very impressive. I do, because people were saying like growing up in the the beginning of the consumer grade internet era. But I do remember, like, I do feel kind of good that I feel I was the last generation that would like not have a mobile phone and also cycle to someone's house and like just knock on the door and be like, is James here? And they'd be like, no. And I'd be like, bye then, and like just cycle off and just go to someone else's house and be like, yo, is George in? And they'd be like, nah, George isn't here. And I'd be like, all right, off I go to another friend. Let's see if anyone's gonna come out and play. Like that was a thing.
I love technology, man. Like
same.
Because I remember I never biked anywhere. I was always a stay-at-home person. Did stuff. My family, everyone in my family was a programmer. We were all early adopters for computers and shit. But like,
this is making sense now how you could trick them with technology.
Where were we going with this? I already forgot.
I was talking about just like you were saying how you weren't really someone that went out much. And
like every time technology moves forward, it's like it solves huge problems for me. Like I chronically got lost.
Yeah.
Like I could not fucking follow directions to save my life. I hate it. Like the worst thing in the world is you get directions and they'd be like, okay, when you see the McDonald's, take a right.
Yeah.
I fuck that up every time. Like every time.
Yeah.
And then the only reason I got a smartphone was like for Google Maps. That just fucking changed my life. Like I was finally on time to shit.
Fuck, Google Maps was... Do you remember the first time you ever like stood there holding a fucking phone and was like, that pin is me. That's where I am in the world. And look, as I move, the pin moves. That was fucking
technology's
crazy.
Amazing, man. Like it's only gonna get better too. Like it just keeps getting, life gets better. Because I was literally lost. Literally. Like I just didn't.
You're just someone who just sat there and was like, I can't interact with the world until they invent things that I can interact with it with.
Yes. I'm too stupid to solve my issues. And they do. They make apps. Great. I love the world.
This is my problem. I'm terrible at spelling and doing amazing things in the written form most of the time. So Twitter, not necessarily my friend. Like, just talking, I'm good. But like, it's like, man, I'm still on the internet. How do I...
God. I don't know if I've ever told you this story. When I was a kid, in elementary school, my mom always had a typewriter, but I think we had a computer back then, and I wrote up one of my essays in elementary school on the computer, and I handed it in, and the teacher said, "I'm not going to accept this. Everybody else wrote it out, and you're not going to learn penmanship, and you'll never learn to spell if you write your papers on a computer." And I went home and I told my mother that, and my mother went to school with me the next day and sat my teacher down and explained to her that this was the future.
Oh
And that
shit!
she was going to be accepting all of my anything I wrote
In
on
computer
printed,
form,
like on
yeah,
that
yeah.
fucking printed corrugated paper. Do you
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that shit?
yeah. I remember that.
We'll be accepting that. Like, she explained to my teacher that this is the way it was going to be, and I hated her for that.
Oh,
like,
I imagine. Yeah, the embarrassment.
Oh my! Like, I was mortified. My
Mm.
teacher was mortified. No. Like, I straight up refused to use a computer for most of elementary school. Like,
Because of
my
that.
brother, like, it was hard to use anyways. My brother was always like fucking with the BIOS and it was boot and shit.
Brother was
like,
always trying to find porn everywhere and tricking everyone.
Until middle school. No, that was like more middle school. Until middle school, like I just refused. And then what was it? I think it was one of the earlier Final Fantasy came out. Like eventually in middle school I started using a computer, but I never had one in my room.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I hate this. I hate you all. Like I'm rebelling.
This
Fuck
ruined me in school.
Computers are terrible. I'll never forgive
Wow.
you for that, Mom. And then Final Fantasy something came out, and I don't
You're
remember
like-
which one. Oh, I think it was like 7. And I started playing it, and my parents went to sleep, and I realized it was keeping them up. So I just took the family computer from the living room, moved it to my room, and kept playing. And it never moved out of there. And nobody said a word.
That's amazing.
Like it was like several years of this silent war ended. And my parents just got a new computer for the living room, and that was it.
They were probably like super. Cause yeah, they're all programmers. They were probably like, she's finally joined us again. Like she's gonna work this shit out. Like she's got the issue with the computers, but we know computers are the way. And younger, that's amazing. Yeah, I never had a computer in my room till I was like 18. I think I finally had a computer in my room. Like. Not through not being allowed, just not having the money. Like computers were insanely expensive. Like,
yeah,
and yeah, now, yeah, having to share a computer downstairs, that sucked. But yeah, that's fucking amazing, Gwen. I love the idea of your mum being imagine being like that fucking incensed that you're like, one, you're stopping my daughter doing what she's doing. That's pissing me off. Because fuck you. And two, you're wrong, you idiot. Like,
oh, my mom was mad back then.
Yeah.
That's a whole other story.
Fuck you, teacher. That's amazing. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that story. Thank you for sharing it, Gwen.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's fine. My parents hated me using the family computer, but nobody else actually would. Yeah. I think, I mean, there was the very brief period of time where AOL happened and everybody was really excited. And nobody realized that the internet was a terrible place for children.
Yeah, not yet. We hadn't figured that out yet. It was all fresh and new.
And I was like...
It was the computer. It's like, what's the computer going to do here? It can't fucking grab you. Like, you're fine. Like, turn it off.
Then, like... But you know that messes up. Like, there was a certain number of children that were just messed up by the early internet. There must be.
God, yeah,
like,
definitely.
My brother was probably one of them. Like, if you haven't hit puberty yet and you've seen a chick fucking a horse, like, you're in too deep.
It's fucked
you've
up.
Just been exposed.
That is another thing that I am happy did not exist when I was too young. And so it's like, I feel like, and also like, because the computer was downstairs right next to the living room, it was like, you ain't gonna be looking at messed up stuff unless you want your dad walking around the corner and just being like, the fuck is this? And you're like, ah! Like, so that was a blessing in a way. Like, I can kind of, now I think back to it, that's probably why they were like, no, you will not have a computer in your bedroom because we know what's on the fucking internet. Being your father, I have looked. Like,
we figured that.
Like, I've seen the internet. You ain't ready for that.
There was a brief period of time there. And even like, and even if all you were doing was hanging out in chat rooms, you could, like, there was people being
all sorts of weird,
vile back.
Yeah, I remember that. I feel lucky that I at least had some sort of sense of like what was right and wrong and all stuff like that. Because I remember there was weird shit you encountered on the internet with like people trying to talk to you and shit, and it was just like, oh, well, this is not correct. Like, I'm a child, sir.
Like, not just that. Just like people being real cruel. There's a lot of cruelty on the internet, too. back then.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe, I don't remember encountering much like cruelty, like weird fucked up shit. Like sometimes
Yeah,
in
lots
chat
of that,
rooms,
too.
like people that would come in, you go, whoa. Like back when you could just back when chat rooms were even a thing. Like you could just, because they all seemed to get closed down after a while. Someone had the sense of being like, no, these are too fucked. Like however much we enjoy it, we've got MSN now. Turn this off. Like shut them down.
Am I wrong? The chat's saying I'm wrong, that the cruelty really started with social, that back then it wasn't that cruel. Maybe.
Well,
I guess I remember, like, a lot of my earlier memories of the internet where I would post, like, I would draw and I would put pictures on forums, and I was into, like, I was really into anime when I was young, and I was
Gotcha.
in forums, and the fandoms weren't as toxic, I don't think, back then. I guess
they weren't
you're
as
right,
prevalent,
it's a lot worse
probably.
now. Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I guess I never put anything out artistically in that sense, so maybe that's why I never experienced cruelty, because I never really did anything that anyone could latch onto. You're just a name in a chat room, right? So it's like...
And to be fair, a lot of the really, when I say cruelty, a lot of this stuff I'm thinking about now that I think about it is really people I actually did know in real life that would just be totally different on AIM.
Oh, yeah, I knew. Oh, yeah, I knew that. People that were fucking horrible, weird assholes on the internet, and then not like that in person. They'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Like having somebody just explain to you, like, we can't be friends anymore because you're not popular enough, or like some shit. And then
I
and then
literally
start calling you names and shit. And then you meet them the next day at school, and you're like, remember when you said all that weird...
Changing
like,
screen names to, like, someone is a fucking bitch. And you'd be like, oh, okay. I see that. I had a friend who had a friend have that conversation with them where they were like, I don't think we're going to be friends anymore. And we're now not friends. And it was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, are we breaking up as friends? Like, who the fuck is this? Like, we could just not talk. Like, that would be fine. But that was actually kind of weirdly recently, not as long ago as you'd think. To the point where when they told me about it, we were both like, what a bitch. Like, that's really weird. Like, why would you do that?
You're supposed to just awkwardly
just
fade
drift away. Like, that's normal.
hell?
Like, you can just not be friends. You don't have to send me a message saying, like, we're not friends now. And it's like, oh, okay. I know, but okay.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, with people being really weird on the internet, I definitely knew people like that you would like. And yeah, I definitely, like, I had a friend at the time who did that kind of like, and here's all the darkness within that I am spewing upon you, and like the exact same similar thing to what you talked about. And now I'm gonna kill myself, and it was like, holy shit. And you're like, what do I do? And then you go into school and they're just there, and you're like, oh, okay, that was terrifying.
That was the internet being new when we were in school was definitely weird. Do you ever... The other thing is, I think in our own heads, so you experience life, you know, like you go through life when you're you, and you think back to, when you think back to things you did when you were in high school, you're like, no, what I did was, like, you might understand, like, I was a little bit irrational, I was a little bit illogical or whatever, but you don't realize how stupid you were, right? Because you still have your memories, and your memories are,
that's so true.
I'm doing this thing that's not that smart, but whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas in the future, you're looking, wow, you were an angsty, crazy person.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's kind of difficult to disassociate the two, right? I was thinking that recently, and I can't remember why, but yeah, like that whole thing of like, it's still being you, so it's kind of difficult to go, you were crazy, like that kind of a thing.
Yeah. Like, I kept a diary from when I was, I believe my parents had me start when it was like preschool. And so I've got like a couple of diary entries, and then there was the point when I started having blog, but it was just for my friends, like one of the websites, like GeoCities websites, and like 6 people saw it. I still have that. That's the problem with the internet. Like, I can go back and look at that and be like, whoa.
I deleted so I have always made a strong, and I regret it in a way. But I have led my life forever always thinking I was going to be in the public eye, which is probably a bit fucking mental. But I have always had this like thought of like, you better not give it, like, even when I was a kid, my first email address was just Chris Slight at like NTL world.
Oh, that was so dangerous back then.
Maybe, but I also thought, yeah, but you want a serious, you want your own name. You don't want to look back and go, God, that was embarrassing that you had that email address. And I was like 12 worrying about that shit.
Wow.
I also have a strong pattern of deleting everything. Like anything I've ever had, I've always been like, if I look back on it and it's from like 10 years ago, I'm like, oh, that's got to go. Goodbye.
We approached that problem very differently because I was always like changing my handles on things, right?
Yeah.
And like keeping my like making sure like I'd have a handle that like I was a different person on this website and on this website. I never used the same handle. They could never. I've
only just started using handles like now. Like Xbox 360 was the first time I ever had anything that like wasn't just Chris Slight, because I was just like, I'm gonna have a name, an internet name, like an internet person. I've never done that. Like I was always Chris or Chris Slight. Like I was really boring, like in a way, but also very like, I don't know, I want to have a strong brand. I don't know why I thought, but like I definitely, yeah, all that old shit, I just deleted it. Like because everyone had like a live journal or whatever, but I was just like, goodbye to you. Like I don't want to see this.
Yeah, nobody needs that.
But yeah, so you, all that's like, you have you gone back and like read that stuff and been like, whoa?
I did once, and then I was like, okay, this no one needs to know.
Yeah, right. Because it's weird, because it's you, but it's not you, and you're like, oh, what? But it's also kind of interesting. I worry that like, because I've scrubbed so much of that internet history that like I'll get to like 60 and be like, oh, it'd be kind of cool if I could go back and like look at that shit.
You don't want to see your thoughts from high school. They were stupider than you can possibly imagine.
Probably.
You thought they were a little stupid at the time. You go back and you look, you're like, whoa, I was stupid.
Yeah.
Like it's mind blowing, really.
Yeah. It's impressive.
Yeah, impressive with the stupidness. Yeah.
Well, you have definitely had a very good chat out of the both of us, Twitch, may I say. I very much enjoyed this. I don't.
Yeah. We just extended the dialogue box here on Twitch.
Yeah, why not? Probably all the good stuff was in this, and I have not recorded it, so that's just for you here on the internet. I wasn't a handle back then. It was just a screen. Oh, it wasn't a handle back then. It was a screen name.
Yeah,
I guess so.
Back then, yeah, for AIM and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Screen names.
And
that's what they called them.
MSN.
And they were called emoticons. Now they're called emojis, and they're treated like they're something new. No, they aren't, kids. You didn't make them up. We did.
I think they did, because I don't fucking. They'll write whole sentences those fucking pictures, and I have no idea what the fuck they're saying.
Animal Nature, I think, is nailed it. It's like, thanks for unwinding. It sounds like you're both more refreshed. I would agree. I feel like I've had a nice conversation. So it's quite nice. That's good. I'll just get that out there. Dialogue quadrangle. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Great chat, guys. No problem. Yeah, thank you for being here, everyone. We should probably wrap this up.
Yeah.
Well, it's
thanks
still
for
good.
hanging out, everybody. This has been Gwen Frey and Chris Slight. You've been in the dialogue box.
And Chris will press the thing that says the end, like this now.